the lands between, a place of faded glory, where the echoes of gods and kings still linger in the quiet air, and yet where silence has grown deeper than song. To begin with endings, we must first look upon the fracture that birthed them, for all tales of destiny are but fragments drawn from a single shattering. Once, there was order, not a perfect order, nor an eternal one, but an order that bound heaven to earth, mortals to gods, and life itself to a cycle carefully guarded. This order shone from the Elden Ring, a divine construct not of metal or stone, but of law, principle, and cosmic design. It was less an object, more a living symbol, a tapestry woven of runes that defined the nature of reality. So long as the ring remained whole, the lands between held firm in unity. But unity breeds fragility. And so, in an age not too distant yet forever veiled in myth, the Elden Ring was broken. Some say it was shattered by war. Others whisper of rebellion, betrayal, or the hand of fate itself. What remains certain is the silence that followed. The shattering left thrones empty, gods absent, and peoples unmoored. The great Erd tree, once resplendent with the golden radiance of divine law, now stood as a beacon without meaning, its roots spread wide yet hollow in their promise. The world did not end, but it fractured. The children of the gods, once united under the will of a greater power, turned inward, consumed by rivalry, ambition, and despair. Kingdoms fell to ruin. Cities turned to dust. The once golden age dimmed, and in its dimming, a stillness descended upon the lands between. It is here that the tarnished are recalled. Exiles long forgotten, wanderers cast aside, they were nameless, broken souls. The very earth had expelled them, sending them to distant shores and endless exile. Yet now, by some faint and flickering mercy, they are guided back. A soft light, known as grace, bends them toward the throne that waits vacant. Not a command, but an invitation. Not a triumph, but a trial. The tarnished are many, yet they are one. For though countless arise to answer the call, their journeys weave together into a singular tale, a tapestry of possible endings. Each ending is a vision of what may come to pass should the tarnished prevail and bind the fractured world to their chosen will. These endings are not dreams of a far-off land, but living fates, to restore, to change, to corrupt, or to erase. Each speaks of a different truth whispered in the silence of ruin. To understand them, we must drift gently across the many paths that emerge from the same beginning. A lone figure, rising from obscurity, stepping into a land of ash and gold. The choices they make and the forces they heed shape not merely their own destiny, but the destiny of the lands between itself. Some will choose to rebuild, carefully gathering the shattered fragments of the Elden Ring, piecing them together into the semblance of what was lost. This is restoration, an attempt to return to the golden order that once was. Others will choose differently, embracing new truths whispered in shadow. Truths that speak of death, of rot, of order perfected, or of chaos unbound. Each path is an ending, yet none can be called final. For in a world already broken, endings are less conclusions than transformations. What comes after is not silence, but another form of song. Before we follow those many paths, let us remain, for a moment, in this still beginning. Imagine the ruined halls of Lendl, capital of Ash, where dust drifts across shattered marble floors. Imagine the Erd tree, towering and radiant, yet strangely lifeless, its golden light no longer nourishing, only illuminating the emptiness beneath. Imagine the lonely tarnished, standing before this immensity, uncertain yet compelled forward, their steps small against the vast silence of eternity. Here, in the hush of the shattering, the stage is set. What you will hear in the chapters to come are not simply endings, but meditations on fate. Each will reveal a face of destiny, one gentle, one cruel, one sterile, one inflamed. Each will invite us to drift deeper into the quiet paradox of the lands between, that endings are choices, and choices are fragments of a whole we may never fully restore. For now, hold to the image of the broken throne, its crown absent, its ruler gone. In that emptiness lies possibility, as fragile and as infinite as starlight upon still water. The first of these possibilities whispers softly to us, the age of fracture, a vision of restoration, a return to what was lost. Whether that restoration is salvation or stagnation, we shall see. But before we can judge, we must first listen to the quiet, to the ruin, and to the broken golden dream that longs to be whole once more. From the hush of ruin, a path emerges, golden and tentative, like sunlight breaking through clouds that have long forgotten the warmth of day. This is the age of fracture, the first of many possibilities that rise from the shattering. It is an age that honors what once was, seeking not to transcend the past but to return to it, carefully gathering the broken fragments of law and power. In this ending, the tarnished rises, guided by grace, and steps into the solemn role of Elden Lord. The process of restoration is slow and deliberate. Each fragment of the Elden Ring must be reclaimed, not merely by strength of hand, but by understanding and patience. The act is as much ritual as conquest, for the ring is not simply a tool, but a living embodiment of principle, and every shard carries the weight of divine intent. To piece it together is to acknowledge the old order, to accept its continuity, and to bind oneself to a destiny larger than any individual will. Once the Elden Ring is restored, the lands between settle beneath the renewed light. Golden rays illuminate the ruined halls of Lendil and the spires of distant castles, reflecting on waters that remember what the world once was. The greater will's design persists, unbroken in its quiet authority, shaping the flow of life with invisible threads. In this world, the sun continues its course, seasons turn as they always have, and civilization, though tested by war and strife, regains a measure of stability. Yet restoration is not without cost. The repaired order is elegant, but it is also fragile, a lattice of law and duty that cannot adapt quickly to new challenges. The world breathes, yet only just. The golden light warms, yet does not embrace. Mortals find comfort in continuity, but some feel the weight of constraint, sensing that the world has been stitched back together, rather than renewed. In its quiet, the age of fracture whispers a gentle caution. What is restored may appear whole, yet fissures remain beneath gilded surfaces, waiting only for circumstance to reveal them. The tarnished, now seated upon the throne, embodies the paradox of this age. Their hands have mended the shattered ring, and their will has aligned with the greater will, yet their vision carries a subtle unease. There is beauty and order in the elegance of restored law, but also a faint sense of stasis, a hush in which freedom itself feels diminished. The throne is not empty, but it is quiet, not cold, but still. It is a world of ritual, of measure, of careful repetition. Every decree, every law, every step toward unity is observed in solemn vigil, and the lands respond in kind, dutiful but without warmth. And yet, even in this quiet triumph, seeds of contrast are planted. Restoration does not eradicate decay, it merely contains it. Where the golden light falls, shadows deepen at the edges, reminding the observer that no order is absolute. In distant corners, life stirs independently, ungoverned by law or intention, hinting that the world is not wholly bound to the designs of its new Elden Lord. In this tension lies the first hint of choice, the soft rustle of alternative endings yet to emerge, the return of mortality, the bloom of rot, the crystallization of law, and the conflagration of chaos. The age of fracture is a study in quiet balance, in the art of careful repair. It is not a world of spectacle or heroism, but of subtle endurance, of the persistent echo of the past shaping the present. To walk here is to witness the slow unfolding of consequences that ripple outward from a single act, the mending of the Elden Ring, and the assumption of a throne that is both sacred and delicate. For those who dwell in contemplation, the age of fracture offers a meditation on continuity, on the tension between what was and what must be, and on the nature of endings themselves. Even as golden light touches the higher spire, there remains a hush, a reminder that every restoration carries its own quiet peril, every triumph its subtle warning. From the stillness of this ending, we may see the first divergence, the return of natural death, the soft but inexorable whisper of mortality. The age of Duskborn awaits, offering a vision in which the world is not merely mended, but allowed to breathe in its fragility, where life and death once again flow as they were always meant to. Before that vision is revealed, let us linger, for the age of fracture reminds us that even in triumph, the lands between remain fragile, beautiful, and profoundly quiet. The age of fracture restores, but restoration alone cannot answer all of the world's longings. From the quiet of repaired halls and golden spires, a new possibility begins to unfold. A vision not of perfection, but of balance. It is the age of Duskborn, an era in which death, absent in the Golden Order, returns softly, inevitably, and with a dignity all its own. In this vision, the tarnished now Elden Lord does not merely sit upon the throne as a custodian of law, but as a guide for mortality itself. They are accompanied by figures who teach the wisdom of quiet decay. Most notable among them is Fear, a gentle presence whose embraces both comfort and lesson. She speaks not of ending life, but of allowing it its natural course. To accept death is not surrender, but reconciliation. The lands between, long preserved under the unyielding gaze of the Elden Ring, had grown stagnant. Life without end is a silence heavy with unspoken yearning. Mortality returns, and with it the soft rhythm of growth and decline. The throne, in this age, is no longer gilded only in law. It becomes a seat of stewardship. The tarnished watches over both life and death, tending not to perfection, but to the natural unfolding of the world. Kingdoms flourish and fade, rivers fill and recede, and the cycle of the living continues with quiet inevitability. In embracing mortality, the world finds a strange harmony. The golden light of the Erd-tree no longer dominates, but diffuses gently, illuminating both birth and decay. Yet the return of death carries subtle burdens. Some find solace in its quiet rhythm, while others sense the unease of impermanence pressing softly against the fabric of their lives. Where the age of fracture sought continuity and law, the age of Duskborn acknowledges loss, and loss is never without shadow. The quiet of the tomb and the hush of fading petals serve as reminders that even careful guidance cannot forestall the inevitable. The tarnished must navigate this delicate balance. Each decree, each counsel, each act of stewardship echoes across the lands between, shaping not only what lives, but how life ends. Mortality is neither enemy nor adversary. It is a companion, a guide, a teacher whose lessons unfold slowly, like dusk itself spreading across distant plains. In this gentle acceptance lies both power and humility, for the Elden Lord must now wield authority over endings as well as beginnings. The Age of Duskborn thus introduces the first profound divergence from pure restoration. Here, the world does not merely continue, it breathes in rhythm with all living things, in quiet acknowledgement of the inevitability of decline. In halls where golden light glimmers, shadows lengthen, and the hush of mortality becomes an almost sacred companion. The lands between are alive, not as a machine of law, but as a delicate garden of endings, some gentle, some quiet, and some profound in their inevitability. Yet even in this balance, whispers of unrest remain. Fragility never disappears entirely, and where life flows naturally, rot and corruption find a foothold. The bloom of one life may nourish another, or conceal the slow encroachment of decay. And so, while the Age of Duskborn teaches the quiet dignity of mortality, it also foreshadows choices yet to come, paths in which despair, chaos, and transformation will each demand attention, calling the tarnished toward destinies that cannot be ignored. For now, the listener is invited to linger in this hush, to imagine the soft rustle of leaves beneath the Erd-tree's golden glow, the gentle exhalation of lives passing quietly, the warm embrace of a presence that acknowledges the inevitability of loss. The Age of Duskborn whispers the first truths about choice, that life and death are intertwined, and that endings are not merely consequences, but teachers guiding the lands between toward their next possibilities. From this age of balance and mortality, new visions emerge, each darker or stranger than the last. The first stirrings of despair take root, a crimson echo against golden halls, hinting at an ending where rot may bloom unchecked, and where the delicate harmony of life and death may be overturned entirely. From the hush of balance comes the first true shadow. Where the Age of Duskborn allowed mortality to return as a gentle companion, the Age of Despair embraces the inevitability of corruption, of life twisted and fractured by forces beyond comprehension. It is here that the lands between take on a hue of quiet melancholy, a crimson bloom spreading across the soil of golden halls, a reminder that endings are not always serene. Millennia, the blade of Miquella, becomes the silent harbinger of this age. Her body, intertwined with the scarlet rot, embodies both the beauty and terror of transformation. The rot is not merely disease, it is a principle, a force that reshapes the living bending flesh and spirit alike to a quiet inevitability. Those who walk this path, who accept the bloom rather than resist it, become part of a world in which life and decay are inseparable. Fields flourish briefly with crimson flowers, yet every blossom carries within it the whisper of collapse. Life persists, yet under the shadow of corruption, carrying the echo of what has been lost. The tarnished in this age does not seek repair nor restoration. Instead, they acknowledge the bloom, the slow dominion of rot, and take their place within it. They become both observer and participant, presiding over a world that continues to exist, yet in which every step forward is marked by quiet dissolution. The throne, long associated with law and order, now sits amid hushed fields of decay, the golden light of the tree paling against the crimson tide. This ending teaches a paradoxical lesson. Within despair there is vitality. The scarlet rot is not lifeless. It moves, spreads, and endures, yet it is a vitality that cannot be controlled, a beauty intertwined with destruction, a reminder that endings are rarely pure or simple. Every choice carries consequence. Every embrace of power contains a shadow. In observing millennia and the bloom of rot, the lands between witness a cycle of life that is both extraordinary and inevitable, fragile yet enduring. The age of despair also illuminates the subtle interplay between love, sacrifice, and suffering. Millennia's connection to Michaela, her devotion to ideals larger than herself, is inseparable from the rot that grows within her. Thus, the world learns that even the noblest of hearts may bear the weight of corruption, and that endings are shaped not only by the choices we make, but by the forces we cannot fully control. In hushed moments, one can almost hear the sigh of the world, a quiet acknowledgement of the inevitability of decay and renewal entwined. And yet, as crimson flowers bloom across ruined landscapes, the age of despair suggests the potential for contrast. Where rot dominates, cold order may rise. Where life decays, law may crystallize. The lands between, in their quiet splendor, remind the observer that endings are multiple, layered, and intertwined. One age gives way to the next, and each vision leaves echoes for the choices that follow. For the listener, this age is an invitation to witness the beauty of entropy without alarm, to drift among crimson blooms and hushed echoes, and to reflect upon the quiet lesson of endings that are neither wholly gentle nor entirely cruel. Here, despair teaches patience, resilience, and the still acknowledgement that life, even in its most corrupted form, continues to move. From the dominion of rot, another vision begins to stir, a world not defined by despair, but by order, perfected and absolute. The next age waits quietly, a cold and deliberate counterpoint to the bloom of corruption, where law crystallizes and the golden light of the tree shines with unyielding clarity. From the crimson bloom of despair, a new vision arises, one not of chaos or decay, but of flawless design. The age of order is a world meticulously aligned, a lands between where law and principle hold absolute sway. Here, the tarnished, now Elden Lord, follows the guidance of Goldmask, a philosopher whose vision of perfection transcends both restoration and mortality. In this age, the golden light of the tree is unyielding, illuminating every corner with precise clarity, and the world itself bends to the rhythm of unbroken law. The journey to this ending is quiet, deliberate, and solemn. Fractures are not merely repaired, they are eradicated. Every decree issued by the Elden Lord is enforced with meticulous care, and every edict is shaped to remove uncertainty. Life continues, but only within the strict bounds of design. Disorder, rebellion, and caprice find no shelter here. The lands between are governed as if the world itself were a machine, every cog calibrated, every motion predetermined. In such a realm, safety and certainty are abundant, yet warmth is scarce, and freedom, though preserved in principle, is tightly constrained by invisible threads of law. The throne, in this age, gleams with cold majesty. It is not merely a seat of authority, but a symbol of precision, an emblem of a vision that prioritizes order above all else. Civilizations flourish, yet their vibrancy is tempered by discipline. Gardens bloom in exact symmetry, rivers flow along strictly defined courses, and cities hum with the quiet hum of compliance. Even the air seems measured, carrying no untamed wind, only a steady, regulated rhythm. Yet perfection is never without its own shadow. In eliminating flaw and fracture, the age of order also eliminates spontaneity and unpredictability. Life proceeds safely, but at the cost of vitality's natural irregularity. For those attuned to subtle beauty, there is a hush, a stillness that borders on sterility, a quiet awareness that the world has been crystallized into something unyielding. Every choice, every breath, every motion is guided by law, leaving little room for the unforeseen, the miraculous, or the chaotic. The tarnished must balance this perfection with empathy, watching over a world that obeys without question yet cannot truly feel. The Elden Ring, in this age, becomes less a vessel of divine will and more an instrument of meticulous governance. Authority is absolute, yet it is not cruel. It is simply measured, deliberate, and unrelenting in its precision. Even as the lands between thrive under this law, there remains a quiet question. Can absolute order contain the forces that dwell beyond its borders, those wild currents of fate and flame that have always stirred just out of reach? For the listener, the age of order is an invitation to witness calm without warmth, to understand perfection without chaos, and to drift through a world of still golden light where nothing escapes the design of the Elden Lord. It is a meditation on law, structure, and the quiet cost of perfection, a vision of the world that is both awe-inspiring and contemplative. Beyond this perfect law, however, stirs another possibility, one that rejects the precision of order and embraces the untamed, the conflagration of all things. The Lord of Frenzied Flame awaits, hinting at an ending in which destruction becomes creation, where fire, rather than law, defines the shape of the lands between. Where law governs and perfection persists, another possibility stirs quietly, like embers glowing beneath ash. The age of order maintains balance, yet within its stillness, the potential for upheaval exists. This is the world of the Lord of Frenzied Flame, a vision in which fire becomes both judge and arbiter, reshaping the lands between with its consuming touch. Unlike decay or law, flame demands neither precision nor patience. It moves with passion, unpredictability, and a quiet insistence that nothing remains unchanged. The tarnished, in this ending, follows the whispers of a power long thought extinguished. The flame cools softly at first, an almost imperceptible warmth in the quiet halls of the Erd-tree. Yet as it grows, it reveals a world not mended, not measured, but purged and remade through heat and intensity. The Lord of Frenzied Flame is not a tyrant in the conventional sense, but a force of transformation, a principle that recognizes endings as beginnings and destruction as a precursor to creation. Where the golden light of order once shone, crimson and orange now dance, illuminating both the ruin and the rebirth that fire permits. In this age, the lands between are both alive and unrestrained. Forests smolder softly, rivers steam and shimmer, and cities, once gilded with law, are reduced to glowing embers, reminding all who watch that even perfection is fragile under the quiet insistence of elemental change. Mortality returns with intensity. Life is brilliant, fleeting, and vivid, yet every breath carries the whisper of impermanence. The tarnished guides this transformation with a solemn understanding, not in cruelty, but in recognition that endings are necessary for renewal. The flame is paradoxical. It illuminates as it consumes, revealing beauty even while erasing familiar forms. Structures crumble, yet new shapes arise from the embers, as though the world itself remembers patterns older than law or life. In the quiet of the night, one can almost hear the hiss of smoke and the faint crackle of wood giving way, a lullaby for those who understand that destruction is also a form of creation. This age teaches that endings can be passionate, even gentle, if observed with care and humility. Yet within the blaze lies caution. The fire of the frenzied flame does not distinguish between innocence and intent. It follows principle alone. Those who misstep, who cling too tightly to old patterns, may find themselves consumed. And yet, even as the world is remade, a hush descends, an acknowledgement that life continues, just differently, transformed by the intensity of flame rather than the subtlety of law or decay. For the listener, the age of the frenzied flame is an invitation to drift through movement and change, to watch endings unfold not as failures, but as opportunities for renewal. In quiet reflection, one may sense that fire, in its paradoxical mercy, reveals the impermanence of all things and the quiet dignity of transformation. From this age of flame, yet another vision emerges, one neither ruled by law, nor decay, nor passion, but by a subtle and profound weave of fate itself, where the currents of causality and grace guide the lands between in silence. The next chapter will explore this quiet undercurrent, the age of grace, where destiny flows as gently as a river beneath the Erdtree's golden glow. Where fire purges and law crystallizes, there exists another possibility, quieter yet profound. The age of grace is a vision of the lands between, shaped not by force, nor by decay, nor by strict rule, but by the gentle current of destiny itself. Here, the tarnished is guided less by decree and more by the subtle hand of grace, a faint luminescence that drifts through halls and fields, offering direction without compulsion, promise without alarm. In this age, every choice resonates quietly, like ripples across still water, yet these ripples carry the weight of potential, guiding the world toward outcomes both gentle and inevitable. The Erdtree glows softly, its golden light diffused as though filtered through calm air. Shadows retreat, not in fear, but in quiet acknowledgement, and the lands between seem to breathe in time with the subtle hum of grace. This presence is not a force to be mastered, but a companion to be followed, a rhythm to be felt rather than dictated. Mortals, gods, and the tarnished alike experience the hush of quiet purpose, a reminder that endings are not solely the result of strength or cunning, but also of alignment with forces beyond comprehension. In this age, the tarnished learns the profound weight of influence. Each interaction, each choice, carries echoes that ripple outward, shaping lives and lands without the harsh imprint of law or the sharp bite of decay. Cities rise in gentle harmony, forests grow with patient rhythm, and rivers flow in quiet symmetry. Life here is neither frozen nor fleeting. It is observed, guided, and nurtured by the soft principle of grace. Even in the stillness of mortality, there is an assurance, a subtle promise that the lands between are tending toward a kind of quiet equilibrium, one that recognizes the value of endings as natural passages rather than punishments. Yet grace does not dictate perfection, nor remove challenge. The gentle current of fate is subtle. It guides rather than compels. Mistakes, delays, and misunderstandings ripple across the land, teaching the same lessons that law, decay, or flame might, but without urgency or alarm. Here, endings occur as part of a slow, natural process. The tarnished observes and participates, gently nudging the world toward balance, while remaining ever aware that agency still belongs to those who walk the lands. The age of grace is also a study in patience and quiet observation. It reveals that power need not roar to be effective, that influence need not strike to leave impact, and that endings may arrive softly, almost unnoticed, carrying lessons of subtlety and humility. For the listener, this age is an invitation to drift gently through the world's currents, to imagine rivers glimmering beneath the Erdtree, to feel the hush of the land responding to choices unseen yet deeply felt. Even in this tranquility, there is a soft hint of divergence. Grace, while gentle, cannot forestall all disruption. Beyond the currents, other forces stir, unseen but persistent, suggesting endings of abruptness, extremity, or shadow. From this calm river, the world may yet flow into turbulence, hinting at a future where endings are abrupt, violent, or transformed beyond recognition. The next age to explore will show how the lands between might be touched by such currents, as fate's quiet stream deepens into channels of destiny that are far more turbulent and unpredictable. From the gentle flow of grace arises a subtle shift, barely perceptible at first, like a river's current bending under a hidden stone. This is the age of twilight, a period in which the lands between experience not overt chaos or law, nor the pure serenity of destiny, but the quiet movement of change, the soft pull of paths diverging. Here, the tarnished is caught between currents, the familiar rhythm of life and mortality, and the unpredictable stirrings of forces that twist, reshape, and redirect. Endings emerge not from a single principle, but from the subtle interplay of many, each quietly guiding the world toward unforeseen consequences. In this age, the Erdtree's golden light is tinged with shadow. Forests hum with a hidden vibrancy. Rivers reflect both gold and dusk, and the wind carries the quiet rustle of shifting tides. The tarnished feels these currents, sensing that every choice ripples outward, that even minor actions can alter the course of kingdoms, of cities, of individual lives. The world is alive with potential, and yet, unlike the age of grace, the outcomes are no longer assured. Uncertainty hovers softly, and endings drift closer, revealing themselves only to those who observe carefully, who listen to the whispers in the hush between heartbeats. The age of twilight teaches the tarnished subtlety, patience, and attentiveness. Here, influence is a quiet art. Decisions once thought inconsequential bear weight. Alliances shift like sand beneath calm waters, and even the smallest kindness or oversight can blossom into consequences that echo across the lands between. This age emphasizes the delicate balance between intention and effect, showing that endings may arrive slowly, almost unnoticed, yet are no less profound in shaping the world. Amidst this shifting balance, new figures emerge. Those who were once exiles, hidden in shadow, reveal themselves, offering guidance, resistance, or temptation. Their presence reminds the observer that endings are rarely solitary, that destiny is woven from threads of many hands and many wills. In the quiet of twilight, one can sense the intricate choreography of forces at work, each pulling gently, softly, like the current beneath still water. Yet twilight also hints at inevitability. Even as choices diverge and paths multiply, a slow crescendo of consequence gathers unseen. Some currents lead to peace, others to decay. Some to unity, others to solitude. All are inevitable once set in motion, and each carries the lands between toward a horizon where endings, soft or abrupt, must arrive. The tarnished, aware of these hidden flows, steps lightly, listening to the quiet guidance of destiny while remaining vigilant to subtle dangers, a steward of a world whose complexity deepens with each passing moment. For the listener, the age of twilight offers reflection. It is a time to drift gently through uncertainty, to observe without interference, to sense the silent shaping of events that will ultimately define the many possible conclusions of this fractured world. The hush of twilight invites contemplation, encouraging one to understand that endings, like currents, are never singular, but a network of subtle influences converging quietly, inevitably, toward consequence. From this shifting horizon, the lands between begin to whisper of histories long hidden, of truths long buried beneath layers of time, and of endings shaped not only by what has been, but by what has always lain dormant, waiting to emerge. The next chapter will explore these forgotten echoes, tracing the silent origins of power and fate that continue to shape the world, even as its currents twist in unpredictable ways. Beneath every current of change, beneath the gentle flow of grace and the quiet stirrings of twilight, lie whispers from the past, echoes that shape the present even when unseen. The age of forgotten, echoes turns attention to the origins of power and fate, to the subtle forces that have guided the lands between long before the tarnished ascended, and which continue to ripple outward, shaping destinies in ways both deliberate and unseen. It is a quiet age, reflective and measured, a meditation on the unseen structures that underlie all endings. Here, the tarnished glimpses the first signs of the greater will's design, not as a force of law or destruction, but as a network of intention, a silent architecture in which every shard of the Elden Ring, every life and city, is a thread in an immense, intricate tapestry. The echoes are faint, fragments of ancient councils, discarded doctrines, forgotten rites, but they carry weight, revealing that the present is inseparable from what has come before. History, in this sense, is less a series of events than a quiet chorus of influence, shaping the flow of power and the inevitability of endings with subtle insistence. The lands between themselves seem to murmur these echoes. Forests hide ancient ruins beneath roots, rivers glide over stones worn smooth by centuries, and the wind carries the faint hum of past deeds. The tarnished walks among these reminders, absorbing the quiet lessons of endurance, sacrifice, and persistence. They perceive the delicate balance between free will and destiny, understanding that while choices shape outcomes, the weight of echoes is unavoidable, gently nudging lives and kingdoms toward particular resolutions. This age emphasizes subtlety. Power here is not a spectacle, but a whisper, a force felt more than seen. Councils long forgotten, rituals performed in silence, and the intentions of figures who have vanished into history all converge to create a quiet architecture of fate. The tarnished, attentive and patient, begins to recognize that even seemingly trivial actions carry resonance, that endings are not merely decided by strength or will, but by the accumulated echoes of countless lives, deeds, and intentions across time. Yet even as the past illuminates the present, the age of forgotten echoes is tinged with ambiguity. Not all echoes are benevolent. Some carry unresolved tension, fragments of ambition, resentment, or despair that have persisted unnoticed. The lands between respond in subtle ways, rewarding attentiveness but punishing oversight, teaching that endings are often shaped by factors beyond immediate comprehension. The world is both living and remembering, a quiet interplay of past and present that must be navigated with care. For the listener, this chapter is an invitation to drift slowly through history, to sense the undercurrents of influence that ripple quietly beneath the visible world, and to contemplate how past actions, sometimes long forgotten, continue to guide the shape of events and the nature of endings. In the hush of ruins and the soft sigh of wind through ancient halls, one may perceive the subtle artistry of fate itself, a reminder that no ending exists in isolation. From the awareness of these echoes, the tarnished and the lands between approach a profound realization that identity, purpose, and the nature of power are intertwined in ways previously unrecognized. The next chapter will reveal a reframe, one that changes the understanding of all that has come before, challenging the listener to reconsider what defines choice, destiny, and the enduring whisper of grace in a world at once fractured and eternal. The echoes of the past begin to converge, guiding the tarnished toward a revelation that alters the very understanding of the lands between. This is the age of reframe, a quiet turning in which identity, purpose, and the hidden currents of the greater will are seen in a new light. Here, the world itself seems to pause, offering space for reflection, as if holding its breath while the true nature of destiny unfolds. It is a moment of subtle illumination, where the threads of history and power, once disparate, are understood as part of a cohesive, deliberate architecture. The tarnished perceives that the Elden Ring, the Erd Tree, and even the Golden Order are not merely objects of law, force, or ritual, but instruments of an intention far older than mortal comprehension. The greater will, previously sensed only in whispers and fragments, reveals its quiet influence, suggesting that many events, choices, and endings were shaped not merely by action or chance, but by a subtle, guiding hand. Mortals, gods, and even demigods act within this weave, their freedom nuanced and profound, their decisions resonant but never detached from the overarching design. This age illuminates identity. The tarnished is more than a claimant to the Elden Throne. They are a lens through which the greater will manifests, a conduit for both purpose and consequence. Every action they take now is reframed. Past choices echo differently. Alliances and enmities reveal new significance, and even triumph and failure carry layered meaning. The world itself seems to breathe in acknowledgement of this understanding, rivers reflecting not only the light of the Erdtree, but also the quiet shimmer of potential, of lives guided by hidden intention. Purpose, too, is revealed as intertwined with responsibility. To act is not merely to claim power, but to steward it in harmony with subtle currents that extend beyond sight or comprehension. Mortality, law, flame, and grace, all the ages observed before, are reframed as different expressions of the same underlying principle. The lands between are shaped by the dialogue between choice and the imperceptible hand of fate. Even endings previously understood as absolute now carry the whisper of contingency, a reminder that every moment holds both consequence and possibility. The tarnished walks this path with measured awareness, recognizing the paradox of agency within structure, freedom within design, and mortality within eternity. The world itself responds in quiet hush, every forest, every ruin, every stream reflecting a new understanding, as if the lands between have themselves leaned closer to listen. Lessons of power, decay, law, flame, and grace are reinterpreted, revealing their interconnection and their place within a grander, almost cosmic narrative. For the listener, this chapter is an invitation to pause and perceive the subtleties of influence, to consider that identity and purpose may be reframed in quiet, unseen ways, and to understand that endings, while inevitable, are rarely as singular as they first appear. The world continues its soft rhythm, yet now carries layers of meaning previously hidden, waiting to be acknowledged. As the hidden architecture becomes clearer, the lands between begin to show signs of convergence. Threads from each age, the golden order, the crimson bloom, the quiet river of grace, and the unseen echoes start to align toward finality, hinting that the next chapters will explore the culmination of these currents, where endings crystallize and the consequences of all ages coalesce in a quiet, profound resolution. From the gentle revelations of the reframe, the lands between move toward a convergence, where all currents, mortality, law, flame, grace, and hidden echoes coalesce into a quiet synthesis. This is the age in which the Tarnished witnesses the culmination of centuries of influence, the alignment of disparate forces into a singular, almost sacred rhythm. The world itself seems to lean forward, listening, as if aware that each thread now carries weight far beyond the present moment. Here, endings are not abrupt, nor are they chaotic. They arrive as the natural outcome of countless interactions, each echo and choice weaving into a tapestry that is both deliberate and serene. The Erd tree's golden light is diffused, carrying subtle traces of crimson, amber, and silver, reflecting the lingering influence of each previous age. The Tarnished, now fully aware of identity and purpose, moves among these currents with measured calm. They recognize that power is neither singular nor absolute, but a network of forces that respond to observation, stewardship, and restraint. Mortality, law, decay, fire, and grace all leave their mark, and endings are shaped not by the strongest influence alone, but by the quiet dialogue among all. In this age, the lands between are both living and conscious in a new way. Rivers carry not only water, but memory. Forests whisper the lessons of ages past. Ruins bear silent testimony to the cycles of creation and dissolution. The Tarnished, as Elden Lord, perceives these connections, understanding that every decree, every counsel, every intervention echoes through time. Choices previously perceived as minor now reveal subtle consequences, and alliances long formed show depths of significance that only now become clear. Convergence emphasizes balance. The crimson rot and the frenzied flame are present, but tempered by law and guided by grace. Mortality itself, once disruptive in the age of Duskborn, is now understood as a stabilizing principle, shaping the rhythm of life and death without alarm or excess. The Elden Ring, previously a symbol of fractured power, now glimmers as a prism through which all forces refract, a tool not of domination, but of integration and stewardship. For the listener, this chapter is a space of quiet reflection, a meditation on the interplay of endings and beginnings, on the delicate weaving of choice, destiny, and influence. One may imagine standing amidst golden light diffused with subtle hues, feeling the hush of converging currents, sensing the profound truth that all ages, all paths, all echoes have their place within a single, coherent world. Endings are inevitable, but here they arrive with calm inevitability, shaped by the interplay of forces rather than singular dominance. Yet, even in convergence, hints of divergence remain. The final shape of the lands between is not predetermined. Subtle shifts may still influence outcomes, reminding both Tarnished and listener that endings are collaborative, emergent, and quietly alive. The next chapter will explore the soft twist, revealing how earlier assumptions are reframed once more, and how the lands between reveal truths hidden even within convergence itself. Even within the serene alignment of convergence, subtle truths lie quietly beneath the surface, awaiting discovery. The age of the soft twist reveals these hidden realities, reshaping understanding without abruptness or alarm. It is here that the Tarnished perceives what has always been present, yet unseen, that the lands between are not merely a stage for action, nor repository of law, flame, or grace, but a living, sentient archive of choices, intentions, and consequences. The world, in hushed reflection, discloses layers previously overlooked, teaching that endings carry depth and meaning beyond the immediately visible. The Tarnished observes that even the Elden Ring, the Erd Tree, and the Golden Order conceal subtle complexities. Fragments of history, traces of hidden will, and the quiet influence of minor actors all contribute to the ultimate shape of destiny. Events once thought linear reveal themselves as interwoven, each echoing another in intricate patterns. In this age, the lands between are at once familiar and profoundly altered, as if one had walked a path countless times, only to notice a hidden door or a soft, lingering scent of memory that reframes the entire journey. The soft twist emphasizes the interplay between perception and reality. Mortals, gods, and demigods alike carry layers of motive, sacrifice, and ambition that may only be fully appreciated in hindsight. The tarnished, guided by awareness rather than power alone, while Rose discerns that the consequences of actions ripple far beyond intention, revealing the quiet artistry of the greater will. Even the most subtle choice, the embrace of mercy, the act of patience, the passing of time without intervention, has shaped outcomes in profound and unanticipated ways. In this age, endings are not singular. A single conclusion may manifest differently depending on perspective, revealing that the lands between are not fixed in meaning, but fluid, responsive, and reflective. The crimson rot, the frenzied flame, law, grace, and echoes of history coexist as layers, each influencing the perception and reception of finality. For the listener, this is a space to drift quietly, observing how the interplay of subtle forces, decisions, and unseen currents shapes the world without alarm, yet with profound clarity. The soft twist also illuminates moral resonance. Traits long seen as virtues or flaws are reframed. Devotion may lead to salvation or suffering. Order may preserve life yet suppress vitality. Fire may purge yet nurture renewal. By revealing these hidden dimensions, this age teaches patience, reflection, and quiet humility, reminding one that endings are rarely absolute, but instead exist in dialogue with history, choice, and the unobservable currents that shape existence. For the lands between, this chapter whispers that truth is layered, endings are multifaceted, and the weight of understanding grows with attentive observation. What begins to stir beyond this subtle revelation are consequences that intertwine with all that has come before. The next chapter will explore the final synthesis, where all ages, choices, and echoes coalesce into the ultimate legacy of the lands between, a calm yet resonant reflection of what it means to complete a journey. From the quiet revelations of the soft twist emerges the moment of synthesis, when all ages, all currents, and all echoes converge into a cohesive understanding. The lands between, in their layered history, present themselves as a living tapestry, where law, decay, flame, grace, and hidden will are woven together into a single, harmonious pattern. The tarnished, having walked each age and observed its subtleties, now assumes a role not merely of power, but of stewardship, understanding that the legacy of the world is shaped by the interplay of all forces, rather than by singular dominance. The Erd tree glows with a calm brilliance, enriched by traces of crimson, amber, and gold, symbolizing the integration of every principle observed before. Mortality, law, and fire are acknowledged not as threats or absolutes, but as elements of a broader, nuanced order. Even the scarlet rot, once feared as a harbinger of despair, now reveals its place in the rhythm of life and death. The lands themselves seem to breathe in quiet harmony, reflecting the careful balance achieved by convergence and the insight provided by the soft twist. In this age, endings are observed as both culmination and continuation. Each choice made by the tarnished, each ripple of action and consequence, carries weight not only for the present, but for the future. Cities, forests, and rivers testify to the layered interplay of ages, and the Elden Ring is revealed not merely as a symbol of power, but as a prism through which the many strands of history and intent refract into coherence. The lands between, in their quiet majesty, offer a meditation on the nature of influence, stewardship, and the delicate balance between fate and agency. For the listener, the final synthesis is an invitation to drift slowly through the world's completion, to witness endings that arrive as natural expressions of accumulated choices and unseen currents. There is no abrupt conclusion, no sudden rupture. Instead, endings are gentle, profound, and reflective, inviting contemplation on the layered nature of history, morality, and consequence. This age affirms that legacy is not imposed, but cultivated, arising from the integration of action, intent, and the quiet guidance of hidden forces. Yet even in this synthesis, the lands between retain the potential for subtle divergence. What is observed may be layered, contingent, and open to interpretation, suggesting that even endings carry room for reflection, understanding, and quiet continuation. Beyond this integration, a final cadence awaits, one that steps back from complexity to offer closure not through spectacle, but through calm, measured reflection on the meaning of the journey itself. The next chapter will carry the listener into this final downshift, the gentle closure that completes the exploration of all ages, all echoes, and all currents of the lands between. With the final synthesis complete, the lands between settle into a rhythm of quiet reflection. The gentle closure is a moment to step back from action, from the tides of flame, law, decay, and grace, and to contemplate the weight of choices and the subtle currents of consequence that have carried the tarnished through every age. Here, the world is hushed, and the mind is invited to drift slowly, observing the soft illumination of understanding as endings ripple gently through space and time. The Erd tree's golden light softens into a mellow glow, suffusing forests, rivers, and cities with calm warmth. Even the smallest stones seem to reflect the journey's culmination, bearing silent witness to the actions, decisions, and echoes that have shaped the lands between. Mortality is honored in quiet, graceful rhythm. Law is observed with gentleness rather than rigidity, and flame flickers softly, a reminder of transformation without violence. Every element of the world resonates with measured care, offering a space for the listener to absorb the tapestry of history, morality, and agency without alarm or rush. In this age, the tarnished contemplates the subtle interweaving of personal choice and external influence. Decisions once seen as minor now reveal profound resonance, illustrating how each act carries echoes that extend far beyond immediate perception. Grace is recognized in moments of patience and restraint, while the subtle consequences of action remind that even endings are never singular. Life, in its complexity, is shown to be a quiet balance between intention, circumstance, and unseen currents, a delicate dance in which every participant plays a role. The gentle closure also invites a sense of moral reflection. Virtues and flaws alike are understood in context. Mercy, courage, and wisdom ripple outward, while stubbornness, haste, and neglect leave subtle traces on the world. Yet there is no judgment beyond observation. The lands between offer understanding, not condemnation. For the listener, this chapter is an opportunity to drift through thought and memory, to trace the quiet lines of cause and effect, and to sense the weight and beauty of endings that arrive with calm inevitability. Beyond reflection, this age gestures softly toward continuity. Even as the lands between settle, the rhythm of life, the flow of influence, and the quiet whispers of the past remain present. Endings are both conclusion and passage, an invitation to rest while sensing the lingering vitality of a world shaped by centuries of intertwined currents. The final chapter will carry this downshift to its ultimate quiet cadence, closing the journey with calm meditation on legacy, remembrance, and the enduring hush of the lands between. At last, the journey through ages, echoes, and currents reaches its final cadence. The eternal hush descends over the lands between, a profound quiet that carries reflection, understanding, and the subtle weight of legacy. Here, the tarnished rests in contemplative stillness, observing the culmination of law, flame, decay, grace, and the hidden architectures of fate, all harmonizing in a gentle equilibrium. The world, once turbulent, once fractured by the passage of countless choices, now breathes in measured calm, its history etched softly into every stone, leaf, and riverbed. The Erd tree, immense and serene, casts a glow that is neither harsh nor fleeting. Its light reaches the most distant valleys, the quietest glades, and the forgotten ruins of once great cities, illuminating them with a timeless serenity. Mortality, once pressing, now appears as a natural rhythm, intertwined with the cycles of growth and transformation. Every ripple of past choice, every whisper of unseen influence has contributed to a landscape of quiet majesty, a world simultaneously familiar and infinitely deep. The tarnished, having navigated the currents of the Elden Ring, perceives the fullness of consequence and the subtle interplay of freedom and destiny, embracing the knowledge that endings are part of an ongoing cycle, never truly final. Legacy is the thread that binds all observation together. What is left behind, Acts of mercy, courage, restraint, or perseverance resonates gently through time. The soft hush of history is both teacher and witness, reminding the listener that even when endings are reached, influence endures in quiet forms. The lands between, alive yet serene, carry memory as a gentle pulse, allowing reflection without urgency, remembrance without alarm. Here, endings are luminous in their subtlety, offering both conclusion and meditation, an invitation to rest while sensing the persistent vitality of the world. For the listener, the eternal hush is a final drift through calm awareness. It is an opportunity to observe the full tapestry of the lands between, to sense the echoes of ages past, and to reflect on the interplay of choice, consequence, and unseen forces. There is no sudden flourish, no sharp division between action and rest. Instead, the cadence slows, gently, softly, as the narrative folds inward, leaving a sense of completion, quiet satisfaction, and reverent stillness. The lands between, in their eternal hush, teach that understanding, peace, and reflection are as enduring as power, as subtle as grace, and as inevitable as the quiet passage of time itself. As the final light of the Erd-tree glows against the horizon, the lands between settle into a profound hush, an invitation to rest, to remember, and to drift gently, knowing that the story has been witnessed, understood, and quietly preserved in memory. The journey concludes not with alarm, but with calm, leaving the listener in serene contemplation, ready to drift toward quiet rest, carrying the weight and beauty of the Elden Ring's legacy within a soft, enduring hush.